Hello guys, welcome to Study for Civil Services. In this video we will see NCERT Class 7 Geography Chapter 3, and we have already covered all the chapters of Class 6 NCERT Geography and two chapters of Class 7 NCERT Geography, and in the coming videos we are going to cover NCERT for Geography, History and Polity, and which is useful for all the competitive exam and which is a very basic learning for all the exams. So now in this third chapter, we'll see about our changing Earth. In this chapter, we'll see the lithosphere is the topmost surface of the Earth, and it has been broken into a number of plates, and they are known as lithosphere plates, and they all are moving around very slowly, just a few millimeters each year, and because of the movement of the lithosphere plates, various types of mountains, volcanoes, and other geographical features are formed on Earth. And why these lithosphere plates moves? Actually, these plates moves because of the molten magma inside the Earth. Because of the movement of the molten magma inside the Earth, you can understand this by a simple example, like it is given in the activity. You can take a pot and put some paper pellet into it, and then start warming the water. As soon as water is warmed, the paper pellet will try to come up as the water will be warmed. And so in this way, because of the magma is very hot, and that is why it tries to come out of the earth surface. Now the movement of this molten magma inside the earth is circular as shown in the activity, and the movement of these plates causes changes on the earth, on the surface of the earth. Now the earth movements are divided on the basis of the forces which causes them. If it is occurring inside the earth, it is known as endogenic forces, and the forces that works on the surface of the earth are known as exogenic forces. You can see in this diagram, figure 3.1, earth movements. First force is endogenic or internal force, then exogenic or external force. Endogenic forces are of two types. First one is the sudden forces. They occur very quickly, like earthquake, volcano, landslides. Then second type of endogenic forces, diastrophic forces. They occurs very slowly, like the building of the mountains. Mountain building process is very slow process, and it takes millions of years to form a mountain. Then the second type of force which affect the earth movement is exogenic force, like because of the erosional and depositional forces which are known as exogenic because they occurs outside the surface of the earth, and there are various agents which actually form the exogenic forces, like river is the agent which erode the surface, then wind is the agent which erode the surface, then sea waves, they erode other landforms, then glaciers, they also erode other landforms. Now these lithospheric plates, they are actually occur on the earth crust. Earth crust consists of several large and small, rigid, irregularly shaped plates. They carry continents as well as ocean floor. And endogenic forces sometimes produce very sudden movements like earthquake, volcano, landslides, and then very slow movements also, like the process of mountain building. But whenever the sudden movements occurs in the Earth surface, inside the Earth surface, then they cause actually mass destruction over the surface of the Earth. Now we'll see that what is volcano. Volcano is actually a vent or an opening in the earth crust and through which molten material erupts suddenly. And till the time this molten material remains inside the earth surface, it is known as mantle. And as soon as it comes out of the surface, it is known as lava. So there is a difference between mantle and lava. And it comes out of the crust, and then the opening is known as crater. And there are various gases. There is sulfur dioxide and ash comes from with the lava. Now this is given the word origin. Indo means inside. So endogenic means the forces occurring inside. Exogenic means the forces occurring outside. Now whenever the lithospheric plate moves, the surface of the earth vibrates, and these vibrations travel all around the earth, and that is why they produce the earthquakes. You can see in the diagram 3.3. See, the earthquake actually originate from the focus. So focus is the place where the earthquake occurs, and it is the origin of the seismic energy. And then there are actually three type of waves, earthquake waves, which formed after the earthquake. First type of wave is known as P wave or primary wave or longitudinal wave. It is known as primary wave because it is the first waves which come after the earthquake. Then secondary wave or S wave or transverse wave, and this comes after the P wave. P wave speed is very high, then S wave speed is somewhat low than the P wave. We will see more things about P, S, and L waves in the coming chapters. The third type of wave is known as L waves or land waves or surface waves. Please remember this fact that land waves or surface waves are the most destructive. So the place in the crust where the movement start is known as focus, and the place on the surface above the focus, just above the focus, is known as epicenters. And these vibrations travel outward from the epicenter as waves like P, S, and L, and greatest damage is usually closest to the epicenter, and the greatest damage is done by L waves. And the strength of the earthquake actually decreases as soon as we go away from the center. And the most extensive feature of this earthquake is that earthquakes cannot be predicted, but impact can certainly be minimized if we adopt certain pre-disaster management techniques. Although some common earthquake prediction methods, they are actually adopted locally by the people, like studying the animal behavior, like and the studying the fish in the ponds. They get agitated whenever the earthquake comes. Then snakes also come to the surface whenever there is an indication that earthquake might come. And then there are various earthquakes that hits India, and a massive earthquake measuring around 6.9 on Richter scale. Actually, they hit Bhuj town on 26th of January 2001. It is one of the major earthquakes that hits India. Now, earthquakes are actually measured uh, by two type of things. First is the magnitude, and second is the intensity. The magnitude of earthquake is measured on a Richter scale. It is actually logarithmic based scale, and in this scale, an earthquake of 2 or less can be felt only a little. An earthquake over 5 can cause somewhat damage from things falling, and a 6 or high magnitude is considered very strong, and 7 is classified as major earthquake. See, please remember that Richter scale is a logarithmic based scale, and whenever we increase the magnitude of earthquake by 1, suppose from 2 to 3, so it actually increases the intensity of the earthquake by 10 times because it is logarithmic based scale. And earthquake is measured with a machine known as seismograph. See, this is the photo given in the book. It is a seismograph. There are some somewhat earthquake preparedness. We should take a safe spot during the earthquake. Then we should stay away from the fireplaces and areas around chimney and other dangerous areas where mirrors and picture frames are there. Then we also need to be prepared and spread awareness among our friends and family members and face any disaster confidently. Then there are major landforms because landscape is being continuously worn away by two type of processes. First one is the weathering and second one is the erosion. So weathering is actually the breaking up of rocks on the earth's surface, and erosion is the wearing away of landscape by different agents like water, wind and ice. So there is a difference between the weathering and erosion process. Weathering is only the breaking up of rocks on the earth's surface, but erosion is continuous wearing away of landscape by different type of agents. Okay. The eroded material is carried away or transported by water, wind, etc., and eventually deposited and result into the formation of the plains. And they are very fertile also, like the Indo-Gangetic Plain and Indus Plain and Brahmaputra Plains. And this process of erosion and deposition create different landforms on the surface of the earth. And we can see that uh, through a work of the river. Whenever the river flows from one area to another, the running water in the river erodes the landscape. And when the river tumbles at a steep angle over very hard rocks or down a steep hillside, it forms a waterfall. For example, there are various waterfalls on the Narmada and on the Sharavati river, and you can see this figure of waterfall. See, this waterfall is always occurred on the hard rock surface because if there is a soft rock, then it would be undercut by the power of the water. So for the waterfall formation, we need a hard rock. And then river actually then enters the plain and it there are three stages of river. First one is the young, then mature, and then old. And as the river enters the plain, it twists and turns and forming large bends. And they are known as meander. So it is called as the river is meandering. And because of the continuous erosion and deposition along the sides of the meander, the ends of the meander loop come closer and closer, and further this meander actually loop cuts off from the river and forms a cut-off lake, and this lake is known as oxbow lake because it looks like the oxbow. So that is why this cut-off lake is known as oxbow lake. And after that, the river sometimes also overflow its banks, and this leads to the flooding of neighboring areas like Kosi River, uh, always spread to the other areas, other residential areas in the Bihar, and that is why Kosi River always leads to flooding in the neighboring areas through from where it passes in the rainy season also. And also, as it floods, it also deposited layers of fine soils and other materials called sediments along its banks, and this leads to the formation of flat fertile floodplain. So floodplain is formed by the river deposition of fine soils and they are also known as alluvial soils. And sometimes river also, keep depositing the sediments, and this raises the banks, and these raised banks are known as levees. And as the river approaches the sea, the speed of the flowing water decreases, and then the river began to break up into a number of streams called distributaries, as this is given in the 3.6 figure. And the river becomes so slow that it begins to deposit its load, and each distributary actually forms its own mouth. And mouth is the place where the main river enters into the sea or ocean. And each distributary forms its own mouth, and then the collection of all the sediments from all the mouths forms a delta. Now, this is a fact of waterfall. We forgot to tell you. There are actually thousands of waterfalls in the world, and the highest waterfall is Angel Fall of Venezuela in South America. And Niagara Fall is very famous, and it is located between Canada and USA in North America. And Victoria Falls between Zambia and Zimbabwe. And please remember this fact that waterfall only formed over the hard rock surface. And then you can see the work of sea waves also. There are various type of landforms or formed coastal landforms formed by the sea waves. Sea waves is continuously strike at the rocks, and then the crack develops because of the continuous strike of sea waves. And over the time, these cracks become larger and wider, and thus hollow-like caves are formed on the rocks. These are known as sea caves, as it is shown in the figure 3.7. And then as the time passes, these cavities become bigger and bigger, and only the roof of the caves remain, and thus forming the sea arches. Then further erosion breaks the roof, and only walls are left. These walls like features are known as stacks. And then the steepy rocky coast rising almost vertically above the sea water is called a sea cliff. So these are three erosional features of the sea waves. First one is the sea cave, then sea arches, then stacks, and then sea cliff. And then there is a depositional feature of the sea waves, because the sea waves deposit sediments along the shores, and they form the beaches around the coastal areas. We'll see the work of the ice. Sea glaciers are known as rivers of ice, and they also erode the landscape by bulldozing soils and stones to expose the solid rock below. And glaciers actually carve out deep hollows, and as the ice melts, they get filled up with the water, and over the time they become beautiful lakes in the mountains. And the material carried by these glaciers, such as rocks, big and small, and sand and silt, they get deposited, and these deposits over the time form the glacial moraines. So the depositional feature of glacier is glacial moraine. Then we'll see the work of wind. There are actually two, three features uh, formed by the wind erosion. The first one is the mushroom rock, and wind is actually an active agent of erosion and also deposition in the deserts. And in the deserts, you can see the rocks in the shape of mushroom, known as mushroom. See, in mushroom means the lower surface has been eroded, and the lower surface sand has been removed more as compared with the upper surface. So wind actually erode the lower section of the rock more than the upper part, and that is why they look like mushroom rocks. And these rocks have no narrow base and wider top. And then when the wind blows, it lifts and transports sand from one place to another. And when it stops blowing, the sand falls and then get deposited in low hill-like structure, and these are known as sand dunes. Then the grains of sands are very fine and light, and then wind can carry it over long distance. And when such sand is deposited in large areas, it is known as loess. And large deposit of loess is found in China. So there are three features by the wind. First one is the mushroom rock. It is by the erosion of the lower surface, more erosion of the lower surface than the upper surface. Then sand dune, wind blows from one area and deposits it into the other area. Then loess formation, the wind actually moves from very fine and light sand from one area to the another, and they cover very large distance. When they cover very large distance, they can cover very large distance only when they will be very fine and very light, and then they form the feature known as loess. And large deposit of loess is found in China. Now we'll see the exercises. So first question is, why do the plates move? Plates move because of the magma circulation inside the earth, and because of the magma inside the earth, uh, the particles move actually circular in a circular fashion, and that is why forcing the plates to move. Exogenic are the forces occurring outside the surface of the earth by the agent of wind, water, river, and then glacier. Endogenic are the forces that are formed, to inside the surface of the earth. Like there are two type of endogenic forces. First one is the sudden force, and they result in the formation of earthquake, volcano. And the second one is the diastrophic force. They result in the formation of the mountain and the mountain building process. So two type of endogenic forces and two type of endogenic movements. Now erosion is the wearing away of landforms by various agents like wind, river, ice. Floodplains are formed by the deposits and sediments of the river. And the sand dunes, I've told you that the wind actually carry the sand particles from one place to another, and then when they start depositing into the other area, and they result in the formation of the sand dunes. Beaches are formed by the deposition of the coastal waves. Whenever the sea waves they start depositing the sediments and the other particles on the coast, the beach formation takes place, and it is actually the depositional feature of the sea waves. Now, oxbow lakes are actually the cut-off lakes, and during the river movement, whenever the lakes are cut off, they occur in the oxbow shape, and that is why they are known as oxbow lakes. Now, correct answer, which is not an erosional feature of sea waves, is beach, because beach is a depositional feature of sea waves. Then the depositional feature of the glacier is moraine, then which is caused by the sudden movement of the earth is volcano. Then mushroom rocks are formed in the deserts. Oxbow lakes are found in river valleys. Then match the following. Glaciers are river of ice. Meanders are done by rivers. Then beach are actually formed on the seashore. Sand dunes, they are related to the deserts. Then waterfall related to the hard bedrock, because I have told you that waterfall only formed over the hard bedrock. Then earthquake related to the vibration of earth. Then reasons Some rocks have a shape of mushroom because the erosion of the bottom surface is more than the top surface by agents like wind. Then floodplains are very fertile because they carry very fine particles and also the alluvial soil. Sea caves are turned into stacks over the sea. First, the sea caves are formed, and then over the period of time, the vertical wall is, the above wall is removed, and they converted into the stakes. Building collapse due to the earthquakes because of the vibrations. So please subscribe our channel for more updates, for more NCRT books for history, geography, polity. Because in the coming days we are going to cover all the NCRT books from class 6 to class 12 for geography, history, and polity. Thank you.